Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Well, who would want to follow that? That's
He's right.
that's ridiculous. Oh, man.
All right, I am going to hit
All right.
start.
No problem. Go
And then
right.
you have 14 minutes to tell us anything you want to tell us.
All right.
Have fun.
Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Just to pick up on the theme that the other great speakers have been speaking on, I want to talk about this ripple, and I want to talk about what it takes to change the world. Changing the world is simple. And I wouldn't say it was easy, because it's not easy, but it is very simple because it starts with just one person, and that person is you. And it ripples out to every person that your life touches. I've seen this all my life. I grew up in poverty. I grew up in some of the poorest countries of the developing world, places like Haiti, St. Kitts, Dominica, St. Lucia. Now, I know when I say those last places, you guys don't, you think of the resort. I did not grow up at the Sandals Resort. I grew up outside the fence, okay? I took my wife, who's here, back a few years ago to the places I grew up, and she just got quieter and quieter through the day. And I said, "What's wrong with you?" And she said, "Darren, you grew up in poverty." And, I didn't know that. I guess I did, but, we were rich. We always had people at our dinner table. We always had something to give. My parents were the most generous people, and there was always, my mom could write the book, Feeding 20 People with One Chicken. I mean, that would be her book. And just frugal, yes, but never poor. I mean, there was always love to give, something to give to a friend or to a stranger or even an enemy. I saw that lived out when a man began to attack my father in the newspaper in one of the islands that we lived in, challenging him to public debate, deriding his accomplishments, really criticizing him. And, my dad tried to reach out and talk about it, but that's not what he wanted. He wanted a public spectacle. And so this went on and on for almost a year. It was very painful and difficult, and it's a small island, and everybody knows each other. Well, in 1977, Hurricane David swept through that part of the Caribbean. It was the worst hurricane ever to hit the islands in 100 years and just devastated everything in its path. And it tore off the roof of our house during the night as it raged on, and in the morning, my dad secured the home, put all his tools in a truck, grabbed me, and we went out to go find people to help. And the first place that he drove us to was the house of this man who was antagonizing us. And his home was destroyed. And we spent the next 2 days picking up trash, removing debris, finding anything of value that was left. Well, on the third day, this gentleman showed up at our house with tears in his eyes, asking my father, "Why would you do this after all that I've done for you, or done to you?" And I'll never forget my dad just reaching over, putting his hand on his shoulder and saying, "Well, because I love you. And, look around. There's so much work to be done. And we've got a lot to do here, so we got to look out for each other." He reached over and he hugged this man, and it changed that man's life. Just one act of love. Changed his life, changed his family's life. It rippled out to all of his relationships. And even in the little island nation, the story spread. It changed my life that day. I remember thinking, I think I'm part of the greatest family in the whole world. And I didn't feel poor at all. Felt rich. When you love somebody well, you're automatically a leader in somebody's life. We saw this played out just 24 days ago in Atlanta, Georgia. A very disturbed young man named Michael Hill walked into an Atlanta suburb elementary school with an AK-47 dressed in black, 500 rounds of ammunition, and started to shoot and fire off his rifle and saying, "Today's the day I'm going to die." And it would have been another Sandy Hook had it not been for the amazing bravery and courage and the love of this incredible woman, Antoinette Tuff, who was as scared as everybody else. She called 911. She wanted to run, but in a moment of pure bravery and courage, decided to stay and love on this young man. I mean, one of the most incredible moments of the 911 tape is the moment where she actually tells this young man that she loves him. She would go on to say, "Look, I understand what you're going through. I don't hate you. A year ago, I felt the same way when my husband of 33 years walked out and left me with no job and a multiply disabled child. I wanted to take my own life, but I didn't. I'm still here, and I'm working, and it's okay. And I want you to know we're not going to hate you. I want you to know, baby, that I love you, and everything's going to be all right. It's good that you're going to give up. I'm proud of you. We all go through something in life, and she loved this young man well, and he let her lead him to lower his weapon, to lie on the floor, and surrender without any incident at all. Now, loving people well means loving people that are hard to love and difficult to love. But love is the greatest, most powerful force in the entire world. I mean, everything great begins with love. And if you love people well, it earns you the right to lead them up to the best version of themselves. When you have people at the best version of themselves, you can launch them out to love other people well, and it starts a chain reaction that creates a culture that starts a ripple of generosity that actually goes out to change the world. And I came to tell you, at a time that we need to hear it the most right now, we need to learn how to love and how to lead and how to launch people out. Every great culture, a 10X culture that is transformative, that changes people's lives, has these three things. And if you don't have them, if you don't do these three things, you don't have failure, but you only have a shadow of what it could be. So I have 3 children. I have a son in college. I have 2 daughters who are here today, and they're in high school. But ever since they were really little, when my son first got on the bus to go to school that first day of first grade, that half hour before he gets on the bus, we would sit together as a family. We have done this every day all through the years. And we love on our kids. And I make them breakfast, and we listen to them, and we give them our attention and our approval, and we just love on them. But then I lead them up. And you know, I say the same thing every day, and they just get sick of it, and they laugh at me because I say the same thing every single day. I lead them up, and I define reality for them. I say, you know what? Consider the environment you're just about to walk into. You're just about to walk into all the shallowness and the pettiness and the unkindness. You're going to walk into, the blood-sucking gossip. That's what we call it. The blood-sucking gossip. And, that's not who you are. And we define hope, and we say, it's not us. I mean, you're leaders. You're not followers. And you have the ability to alter the climate of a room when you walk in. You can change a person's life today. You can love people well. And because you see, the world is trying to pull all of us down to the lowest version of ourselves. And that's what they would do to them. But you have to lead people up to the best version. And we pray over them, and we launch them out. And, I make them do this thing. They hate it now because they're older, but we put our hands in the center, and I say, go Sheskies, They hate that, but, it's corny. But it's who we are. We're leaders. We're not followers. We're not going to succumb to being pulled down and go out. You can do it, succeed, and that's how you love people well. You lead them up, and you launch them out. That's an incredible, remarkable culture. My kids are remarkable. And, this is the primary job of every leader, to define reality and then to give people hope. And it's so powerful. When people know that you love them, that they feel cared for, that they give you the right to define reality, and you can lead them to hope, and you can point them on a path, and you can tell them how they can make a difference, and people respond to that. People will innovate, and they will create, and they'll initiate new things. They'll find resources that you had no idea were even possible. They will love their fellow employees. They will love the customer far more than any job description demands or any paycheck requires. They'll go above and beyond because they have discovered an incredible 10X culture. Now, the best organizations or businesses or companies understand this, and in the framework of all of them, the DNA is a love, lead, launch culture, right? Starbucks is the poster child for love, lead, launch. You think I'm kidding? I mean, they're not selling you coffee, they're selling you love. They spend a fortune training their employees to love you well, to connect with you, and you walk in the door and basically say, you can have it any way you want. Make it as complex as you like because you're you, and we love you, and you can have it your way. And by the way, come into this amazing environment that we've created for you that's going to just lead you to a place of peace and relax and connect with the people that you love, because we want you to be in the right frame of mind, because in the next few minutes you go out into the world to change the world, and that's what your $5 buys you. That's what they're exploding with growth. Why? Because they have a love, lead, launch culture. You'll be blown away what people do when they encounter a culture like that. People you don't even know will want to come and help you to succeed. So just a few years ago, I went to a town that I didn't know anybody and started a church with 17 people, including the kids. And 12 years later, there's not one church, but there are 7 churches. And membership around 4,500 among the 7 churches that we've launched together. And it's because we've held on to this simple idea from the beginning: love people well, lead them up, and then launch them out. But that's hard. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that culture gets tested. It's always tested. 2008, it tested us severely when the economy buckled. It wasn't just hard on business, it was devastating to nonprofits and churches and charitable organizations, as you can imagine. And we were just initiating a multi-million-dollar capital campaign, and I was thinking, we're going to need a miracle. Right in the middle of that, I was taken to Sierra Leone, West Africa. It's the last country on the United Nations Development Index, and there was a humanitarian crisis of epic proportion going on. Thousands of people were literally dying, and the life expectancy had shrunk to 42 years of age. And it was because people didn't have access to clean water, and waterborne diseases were destroying the population. I came back from that, and I was just, what are we supposed to do? I mean, we need a miracle. But we could be these people's miracle right now. For us, it's a delay, but for them, it's life and death. So I came back and told the leaders, and we put our campaign on hold. And we said, this is what love does, and we'll just delay, but let's be a miracle right now. What happened next was nothing short of a generosity explosion. We thought we were going to help hundreds, but when the partners and the people that came along to help, like Rotary International, today over 100,000 people, just 3 years later, have access to clean water, and it's changed the lives of 100,000 people. And then in 2010, the very same thing, the challenge hit us again, because same economy, same group of people, and the most horrific earthquake in Caribbean history hit the country of Haiti, which is where I grew up. And we had to respond and do something. And we thought we were going to help hundreds, but we launched out, and people decided to join us, 31 other churches. And long story short, not just helping thousands with short-term relief, today 56,000 children per day are being fed and are in school because of a ripple effect of generosity. 2012, last year, you see, one time's an event, and second time is a trend, and third time it's a culture. And 2012, our leaders were saying there shouldn't be one kid that's hungry in Indianapolis at Christmas. So let's do something about that. And we did a Love India initiative that in the end of 5 weeks, 22 tons of food were distributed to people all over Indianapolis. It's remarkable what happens when people are loved and led and launched. It's a 10X culture. It's catalytic. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? One thing that I learned, 10X culture is about whatever you're doing now, and you just add a 0 behind it. That's what's really possible. And when you align a culture that loves people well and leads them up to their best version of themselves, and then you launch them out, leading up means leading people past their own selfish agendas to the good of the whole, and saying the good of this culture is what really matters. And that's where it gets hard, because the launch part, that's what's difficult. It means to live this culture, to love, which is, we get that, and then to lead people up, but to launch people out means to be sacrificial. There is a generosity factor in that, because everybody knows that the key to your success in life is the people that you have in your organization, the people around you. And so we made a decision that if we're going to continue to send the ripple out, we not only have to go after the goal, but we've got to launch out our best and our brightest. That's my job as the CEO, I guess, of my organization, is to recruit and find the best talent and then launch them out so that they can continue the ripple as well. We could have kept and held on to people to grow our own organization, but in order to send this ripple out, you have to be sacrificially generous and let people go and let them go to the dream that you've inspired within them. Now, what's great about that is there's a give back to this because we become a magnet for higher talent. Higher talent wants to come and be a part of this culture. And then number two, we become a launch pad for doing really great things. Now, here's the bottom line of this. To be a 10X culture leader, you cannot be a hoarder. You have to be generous. You have to be a giving person. It's got to meet you. It's got to be in your core. You have to be able to sacrificially give your best and your brightest away. Those are hard choices to make. But what we've discovered is that it always comes back. There's a saying, give and it shall be given to you, and that's true. It always comes back. It comes back in ways that you can't even imagine. You give out, you're planting seeds out there, it's coming back to you, and it's incredible. We've launched out these remarkable leaders, and I know a lot of you are thinking, well, this love talk is good and great in the church world, but this is all kind of soft and mushy for the world of business, and I don't think it'll work. But let me tell you something a little bit about my industry. 4,000 churches a year in the U.S. are closing right now, every year. 9 out of 10 churches in America are in decline, and only 14% of all churches across this nation actually met budget in the last 3 years. All right? That's the reality of my world. But I'll tell you, not only did we complete that first campaign, we're in a second multi-million-dollar campaign now, and we have exceeded budget every single year because it comes back. Let me tell you, people say, well, if that's what you're doing, I want to be a part of that. If that's the difference you're making, that's what I want to invest in. People say, well, I want my kids to grow up around that kind of a culture. And it just explodes with growth. So my question to you today is, what hard choices are you making that's going to lead to 10X growth? I mean, will you love people well, even when you want to be judgmental, and you want to withdraw, you want to silo, and you want to run? I'm glad Antoinette Tuff didn't do that. And will you lead people up even when you think there's not enough to go around? Or will you be a miracle for somebody right now? And will you launch out your very best to see the vision continue? See, I believe in the power of one person to change the world. And that person is you. Love and lead and watch. Thank you very much.